toothbrush.
Before we start, I want to make a quick announcement that you can now join and become a member of Loomshot, which gives you access to exclusive content like vlogs, behind the scenes stuff, my trips to watch events, unboxings, live stream modding, and much more. So if you want to see content like that, do consider joining because it's going to be a lot of fun. Something I never quite understood is that people are fine spending hundreds, thousands of dollars on watches, yet they're reluctant to spend any money on quality tools for basic maintenance. Personally, I don't see the logic in working on a $5,000 watch with some $5 toolkit. See the disconnect? Or am I overreacting? Who knows at this point? Maybe I'm the crazy one. They either have some budget jewelry toolkit or no tools at all. And of course, I'm not talking about a setup like mine. 99% of you guys don't need something like this, or this, or this, or this. But I believe that all collectors should have a few basic tools and not cheap out on them. Why? Because garbage tools will most likely cause damage and leave you in tears. I'm sure we've all seen plenty of watches with destroyed lugs, scratches, dents, because some dude thought it would be okay to switch out a springboard with a screwdriver in the dark while balancing a banana on his head. You know who you are. All I'm saying is, invest in the right tools for the right job so that you can drastically reduce the chance of damaging your watch. Some of you guys, hopefully most of you, already have a lot of these tools, but just in case, I'll be going over them individually, and I'll also leave links in the description below if you want to check them out. So the first one, which seems like a staple to watch collecting, are springbar tools. Obviously, you use these for strap changing, whether that's braces, leather straps, rubber, whatever. These two in particular are custom-made springbar tools, but you can pick up a version one which is just as good, because what's important are the tips here. Most springbar tools are double-sided, one with a pin, the other end with a fork, and if you get some crappy ones, the tips will often break on you, so just spend a few extra dollars and get a quality one. All of the ones from version have removable tips, so if they do get worn out, you can easily replace them out in the future if need be. The next tool, which is also a springbar tool but a lot better, is this thing right here. This is basically a springbar tweezer, if you can call it that, also made by Version, and this is what I go for every single time. Unlike a normal springbar tool, this has forks on two sides so you can grab the springbar from both ends. That greatly reduces the chances of you slipping and the springbar going flying into the infinity. And also scraping across the lugs, which is often the case. These also have replaceable tips, but the downside of this is that it is quite expensive. Regular springbar tools are around 20 bucks, but this thing is a whopping $150 around, I think. Eric from the future here. I just realized that the tool is a lot more expensive. It's actually around $200. So it's not my fault. Blame the Swiss, or Version actually. But this is by far the best tool for switching out springbar tools. I've been using this for a couple of years now. How I see it is, spend 200 bucks once, get a quality tool, and forever get rid of the chance of you scratching the lugs, especially for Rolex watches, because this tool will fit perfectly into the openings on most braces and straps to get a hold of these spring bars. So yeah, super expensive, but also very useful. The next tool is a basic set of screwdrivers, and not the crap ones you get from the dollar store. Talking about actual watchmaking screwdrivers. Now, you don't need something like this. This is more than what you'll ever need probably, and it's also above $100, so you don't want to spend that much on screws that you'll probably never use. If I had to say, for Rolex, you're gonna need a 1.6 millimeter, which is the pink one, but chances are you will have different watches with different size screw heads. So there's a set of version screws that you can pick up, which doesn't have as many as this, but you'll basically be covered for any type of watch. I think there's 4 or 5 screwdrivers, and what makes these great is that these are hardened steel, so they won't break on you. The chances of you slipping and scratching a link or a screw is very low. You have these spinning tops so that you can grab a hold of the screwdriver really well while also having rotation. And if the tips ever do get worn out, you can easily swap them out because they are replaceable. Just like the springbar tool, buy it once and never have to buy it again because you're pretty much covered. Your local jeweler might be sad because you no longer have to pay him $5 to get your strap size. Just a warning. The next tool, or supply that is masking tape or thermal tape. This is really good for protecting your watches while doing any work on them. Again, especially with strap changes, because you can easily stick this underneath the surface of the lugs, which by chance if a spoon bar does slip, it has a layer of protection on top of it. If you are really good with changing out straps, you probably don't need something like this, but if you're replacing the strap on a high-end watch and just want a additional layer of protection, this is a good choice. I particularly like the thermal ones because it doesn't leave some sticky residue on your watches, and this is pretty standard in the watchmaking industry from what I know. The next tool, which are often overlooked, are tweezers. Since I do work on watches, I have a Speaking about working on watches, I forgot to include a plug for my custom services. I really don't want to set up the lights and the camera again, so I'll just include a clip from a previous video. If you're interested in any of these watches or previous builds that I've done in the past, like my Comet, Blood Moon, and Two-Tone Stealth, do shoot me an email as I offer full custom builds like these and or customization services for existing watches like the SKX007, SRP Turtle, Seiko 5 SRPD series, and so on. Bunch, and these are just a few of them, but you only really need one, and the size doesn't really matter because all you need them for is after you unscrew a link, there's often a pin that goes across and you can grab a hold of it really easily. You could use your fingers to pull out the pins, but sometimes they do get stuck, and it's nice to have a tool for that. What the f. These are Dual Star tweezers, which are some of the best tweezers available, but you don't need anything like this. However, I do urge you to get brass tweezers or gold-plated brass tweezers because these will not scratch your parts. Well, not completely, but they do greatly reduce the chance of that happening. It's a softer material than steel, and it'll grab a hold of steel a lot better. And these ones are from Version gold-plated brass tweezers. Actually, a more useful case scenario would be to put the screws back on your links because they are so tiny, it's kind of hard to place them on by hand. Onto the next tool, which I feel like is kind of okay to cheap out on, is one of these things. Basically, this substitutes for the pin and hammer that watchmakers use to size bracelets that are held together with pins. A lot of Seiko watches use pin and collars opposed to screws, so you'll probably need something like this. There's a pin that screws in and out for you to push out the pin inside of the link. Now, I prefer this thing over a hammer and a pin because I just don't like the idea of hammering something on your watch. It just seems a little barbaric to me, but up to you. Next pertains to cleaning, which I would often recommend a very soft disposable microfiber cloth. Don't reuse them a bunch of times, they will end up scratching your watches. But something that I prefer more are these Kim wipes. These are basically very soft tissues if you don't know, and they're often used for cleaning lenses on cameras, and lenses have a lot of coatings on them that you don't want to scratch or smudge. So if this is safe for that, then I think it's great for watches. It's one-time use, so after you're done, just throw it away. It's not that expensive, and there's like 280 sheets in this thing, obviously to clean smudges and whatever gunk you get on your watch. Let's keep your watches clean. And speaking of clean, the next tool, which you might find odd, is a toothbrush. Why the hell would I need a toothbrush for my watch? Well, to rub it down once it gets dirty. If you get dirt, grime, sweat, whatever on it, run it under the sink with some warm water and just brush everything off. Get one with soft bristles so that it doesn't scratch your watch, obviously. And a lot of people say to use a used toothbrush, but I'd rather just spend an extra $2-3 and get a fresh one. Don't use a used toothbrush for your watches. Savages. And so those were the basic tools that I feel like every watch collector should have. You're pretty much covered for any strap change or adjustments, so that's one thing checked off. And of course, the rest does seem pretty intuitive, like cleaning, but again, you'd be surprised at how many people lack basic supplies like this. Now on to some optional tools, but these are still things that I think are great to have in your arsenal. Your drawer, wherever you're gonna put this stuff. The first being Blue Loctite. This is a thread lock for after you adjust your bracelets because some screws do have the tendency to unscrew themselves and fall out. You wanna make sure you get the blue one, not the red one, because if you use the red one, you are never going to take that link out again. This is the blue 242, and it's funny that it actually says removable on it, so just in case you get confused. Once you're fitting a screw back on, just put a tiny drop on it. You don't need a lot. I've seen bracelets where glue was all over the link, all over the inside, and it's just a mess. So yeah, some magic sauce. Here is another plastic fantastic. This is a very cheap demagnetizer. If your watch is running fast, it's most likely magnetized, and you could check with a compass, which is also a good thing to add. But this demagnetizer is very cheap. You can pick it up for a few dollars. I think it's no more than 20, and it will save you a trip down to your watch guy or boutique when you can easily solve the problem at home. It's a just-in-case tool, but it's not that expensive and it's nice to have. And also, if you're working on watches, your tools may get magnetized sometimes, so this is definitely a good thing to have. Another nice to have but not necessary tool is a watch winder like this. It's mostly to monitor the status of how your watch is doing because you don't want to wear it all the time. Just in case it's been acting up and you just want to let it run on its own for a little bit. And I'm not saying you have to let it run all the time, but when you don't want it to run, you can just use it as a nice storage case, as I often use them for. Seriously, it serves as a display case like 95% of the time, and it's not always the best idea to let your watch run all the time. Okay, vlogging on a cinema camera is super heavy. Next, we have loops. No idea why I did that. But yeah, there's a ton of them with different magnifications, a lot of brands. You don't really have to spend much. This is a Plastic Fantastic $3 one, and this is an overly priced Horotech one. Generally 5x or 10x even would be enough. It's nice to see any details of your watch through it if you're into that stuff, and also to check condition of watches once you get it in. Something not necessary but cool and fun to have is a UV light. Don't shine this at someone's face. It's used to instantly charge up lume, which can be very practical if you have different parts with different lume colors and can't tell at a glance, and also to check the condition of lume on vintage watches. It will save you the 10-20 seconds that you spend charging your lume with your iPhone flash, because this will charge it up in like 2 or 3 seconds. Another tool that you've probably seen or heard of before is a time grapher. This thing here and that black thing. A very basic, simple one is more than enough to get a rough idea of how your watch is running. If you think your watch is off, it's a lot more reliable than using some app, and also it's kind of annoying to have to wear the watch all day just to tell if it's a few seconds off. From a repair standpoint, it's absolutely necessary if you want to do any type of regulation. Alright, so those are the supplies that I recommend. A few must-haves and a few nice-to-have things. Obviously, if you're working on watches, you're going to need a lot more than what I just showed you, but this is just a basic rundown of things that I think every watch collector should have. I am thinking about making a video on my more intensive watchmaking and modding tools for my channel members, so if you want to see content like that, you can always join the channel. Alright, so thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Do follow me on Instagram at loom_shot, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!